Jeff, you came to know the Lord after you were a comedian, right? You were doing comedy before that.
Yeah.
Just to give us a little bit of how that came to be.
Very briefly, I crawled into an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting about 16 years ago, and all I wanted to do was stop drinking because I thought it would make me a civil human being to my family. And that's all I wanted to be, was civil. That was my main goal. And as God would have it, he puts people in your lives. If you're here today, and just pay attention to the people that are in your life, because those are the angels of mercy that God uses. And I can look back in my life, and it's just the peppering of people that came in with just little bits of seeds that they threw my way. And I met a man on the road who was a multi-millionaire businessman, and this guy was worth millions, and he's doing comedy for $100 a week. And at that time, I've been 7 or 8 years on this AA journey, and I'm reading philosophy. I've read all the self-help books I could read, and I'm just trying to fix myself. I mean, I don't know if there's a man in this room that knows what it's like to wake up every day of your life just so full of anxiety and so full of just bitterness and acrimony, and you don't even know where it's coming from. It just comes in on you. Well, you see, God has a way of getting your attention, and usually it's through anxiety and pain, and whether or not you pay attention is your choice. But if he wants you, I love the term hound to heaven. I love that. If he's pursuing you, he's going to pursue you. And I just couldn't figure out life. I just couldn't deal with the day-to-day stuff. And I meet this man on the road who thought he had everything I thought that I wanted. I mean, he had all this stuff. He's doing comedy. And I'm just so bitter. And we're on a golf course, and we start talking about philosophy. And I'm reading Ayn Rand at that time. And he starts talking about the Bible. And I said, oh, don't give me the Bible, please. And he says, what is it about the Bible you don't think is true? And I said, I don't know. I never read it. I'm an atheist. And he goes, well, you're not an atheist. You're a moron. So I said, well, how do you mean? And he says, a true atheist is not only a biblical scholar, but is also a scholar in all the other religions of the earth, and through an intellectual journey that takes years has come to the conclusion there is no God. You, on the other hand, want to circumvent the entire intellectual process and just come to the conclusion that there is no God. That is lazy and moronic. So before we left, he said, can I sign you up for some Bible study tapes? I got the tapes, and he says, can I send you a Bible? I said, will it cost me anything? He says, no. He says, I'll pay for this out of my own pocket. And I said, well, good, knock yourself out, because I'm not paying for any of that stuff. And your life. God imploded my entire life. My wife and I were 10 minutes from divorce court. We had papers filled out and notarized, and that quiet voice, the little one, the still voice, started working on her. I had been trying to hold my marriage together for a couple of years. It had been long over. And I tell people this all over the country. If you think acrimony is bad in your marriage, try apathy. That is the worst thing in the world. And you want to buy what the culture tells you. The culture tells you divorce is easy and quick. It may be quick, but it's not easy. And it will change your entire life. It will literally gut your entire life. It'll change your children forever. It'll change you forever. And don't buy into it that it doesn't change you. It doesn't change you. And I tried to hold it all together. And it was the worst. When the Bible says one flesh, that's what it felt like, literally being tore apart. One flesh. Well, I finally gave up, filled out the papers, ran our way to court, and then that voice, that little quiet one, says to my wife, pull the car over. We're on the side of a road in Phoenix, and she says, I don't know why I'm saying this. We know why now, but we didn't know why then. And she says, I'm willing to give it another try. So we go home and we try, and it's not working. 8 months go by, 9 months. And she says, I got to go to Ohio. I said, we don't have money to go to Ohio. We lost that in a financial bankruptcy. I'm telling you, God takes away everything that you idolize. Everything you think that will bring you completeness on this earth will be taken away one at a time till you pay attention to where it comes from. And I didn't know it at the time. And all I know is that all these things that I look around and I wanted was going one by one. And now my wife and kids are finally, she goes, we're going to Ohio. I said, we can't afford to go to Ohio. She says, you're not invited. And she says, well, I'm gone, get your life together. I'm coming up on my 40th birthday, and I'm telling you, I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't. She used to look at me and say, why can't you enjoy your job? Why? You know how many people would love to do what you do? Why can't you enjoy it? And I go, why? What's the point? What's the purpose? What? I don't get it. I don't understand it. Been doing it for 15, 16 years. I don't know why. Is there a man, you know what I'm talking about? You know what it's like to wake up every day and just not know why you're even, what's the point? So she leaves, and she says, I'm going with you. Now we've been collecting these tapes for a year and a half. They've been coming. They're all over the house, under the sink, on the thing, collecting dust. You can imagine, ladies, you're trying to clean around all that stuff. She gathers them all up, throws them at my feet, and says, "You either listen to these things, I'm throwing them out." And now there's a pile of them. That voice. I had no logical reason to say, keep them. I hadn't opened one up. I haven't thought about opening one up in a year and a half. They leave them. Now I'm walking by, 2 days later, walking by, and that voice says, "Open one up." I start to walk, another voice says, "What? There's nothing in there for you." I went, When I started reading about demonic realms and angelic realms, I came back to this moment in my life. This is where I came back to. Because there's something outside of us. There is. I don't care. You don't tell me there isn't. You can believe that if you want. I'm telling you, there's stuff going on we can't see. We don't know what's going on. All I know is it took me 10 minutes to get to a piece of manila because something knew what was in that. Finally, I ripped one open, and it was like I threw them out like snakes. I mean, I'm a 40-year-old man, afraid. I throw these tapes on the floor. And I walked over and I picked one up and I go, there. And it was Ecclesiastes. I couldn't even pronounce it. Ecclesiastes, whatever. I don't know. So I got to go get the Bible. I always said if it was John, I would have never got the Bible. So I had to get Ecclesiastes figured out. So I get the Bible out of the junk drawer because that's where, we put stuff like that. Just put it in the junk drawer. Put that tape in, and that pastor from Denton, Texas, started talking about Solomon and about what his conclusions were of life on earth. And I'm telling you, I had read that the Bible was a living, breathing word of God, and believe me, I'm telling you, in my desperation in hotel rooms, I would open up that Bible and I'd look at it and I would say, "Come on, speak to me, please." I wanted it. I would just, "Come on, say," and I never got it. Well, this moment, I put that tape in, and he started talking about Solomon, and this pastor from, God knows, Denton, Texas, I don't know, started speaking to me, and that light went on. And some of you know what I'm talking about, that light in the head, and for the first time, this Bible made sense to me, and it was coming in, and I'm like, wow, it was the most amazing thing in my life, because what the man said was that Solomon's conclusions were that everything of this earth is meaningless. Everything ultimately will never bring you lasting joy. It'll all rust, it'll all decay, it'll all go to your worthless relatives, it'll all go away. And it was like, wow. And he said, in order to enjoy this creation, you need to know the Creator, the one who created it. And he said, happiness is not an act of will. I'll never forget this. Happiness is not an act, because you ask anybody on this planet, what do you want? Happiness. I want to be happy. Well, it's not an act of will, because we'd all be happy. We'd all will it. We'd stand in front of the mirror, do our little affirmations. We'd do our little things that the New Age people tell us. We'd just be happy. But it doesn't work that way. Something outside of us has to come inside of us, transform our heart, change us, and it works its way out in the form of service to other people. I wanted to run on the lawn with the Bible and hold it up to my people and have you read this book? Wow! So I don't know if that was the answer you were looking for.
It'll do. That was unbelievable.
But I want to share this. What got me to AA, and it's kind of, my father asked me, because he wrestled with alcohol his entire life, he asked me what was the catalyst, because everybody that quits drinking or drugs or something has a catalyst. Mine was I beat my 6-month-old son in the crib. And I tell you that because I don't ever want to forget that moment. I looked at my wife when it all said and done. I said, you have to take me to Alcoholics Anonymous, otherwise I'll never quit drinking. And I shared this many years later at a Bill Gaither event. My son was 12 at the time. He came over to me and he said, Daddy, was I that boy that you beat in the crib? And I said, yes, you were. Put his arms around me. He says, I forgive you. That is a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's what my home is like today. There is joy in our home.
And you all know, and I know, in my home, it isn't all smooth.
It's not?
No, it's not smooth. But the truth of the matter is that the love of Christ brings something that can't come any other way.